You're tuning in to Past Our Prime, a show powered by Squad Locker.
Let's be great. Let's be great.
Here are your hosts, retired Astros minor league star Tip Fairchild and former Patriots All-Pro center Dan Copen.
Go rock this thing, huh? Love you, man. Let's go get it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the program. Episode number 60 for us right now. Tip's looking at me. His brain is firing on all cylinders
My
right
brain
now.
is electric right now.
As always, we are powered by Squad Locker. Excuse me. I'm going to talk to Melanie. We have Melanie Newman coming over on maybe getting some. She's the first female Orioles play-by-play announcer. I believe she's the fourth one now currently. She's not the first of Major League Baseball, but there's four.
She also did the all-female broadcast with Jessica Mendoza.
Correct.
That was her
Mendoza? Mendoza worked for up here.
Was that?
Yes.
NBC Boston? Was that one of your, what do you call it? Your coworkers?
Comcast Sports.
Comcast Sports?
What was that?
I don't know. When did you do that anyway? We need to pull some clips from that, Max, of Dan and the Comcast
Not
days.
bad. I did it for 3 years after I retired,
Did you do it
maybe.
that long?
Yeah, 3 years. It was good.
No wonder you're so comfortable on the mic.
Yeah, no. The mic's fine. Again, it's the video that I have the problem with. I don't like the YouTube channel. So head to squadlocker.com. Check out what we going on there and how we can help you in your youth sports organization, your high school, or your corporate. We are going into the business field.
Oh, yes, we are. Board meeting coming up, so that's usually when you guys catch me in full. By the way, I look skinny right now, I feel like. I'm looking at the TV. Not too bad, all right?
Maybe it's a light blue jean jacket.
It could be that. But board meeting coming up, so 4 times a year you guys get me at my peak brain power. So that's what's going on right now. I just got out of one where charts and graphs and Salesforce were flying and my brain is spinning. But also Wordle.
Yeah.
We're in the Wordle game. McKellar put together a spreadsheet that's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
a little bit over the top, I think, for what we're trying to do. But
I laughed so hard when he said that.
And
Just
we have
didn't see that coming.
We have posts out on that of what it looks like.
We do.
We're 6 or 7 days into it.
I'm
getting a commanding lead
You're
right
certainly
now.
a linguist, is what we're learning.
I don't know if it's a linguist. I don't
You're
know.
just great at 5-letter words.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just deciphering where the spots are and what words or what letters can come after it, and just narrowing it down that way.
Yep.
I'm on a streak right now because 2 days ago, got it in 2 tries, which was happy about that.
Eagle.
Yeah,
That was big.
Was it Eagle?
Yeah.
And then today, I'm not going to. Well, it doesn't really matter but aroma was today.
Tough word.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
McKellar.
The double-letter words are tough.
McKellar hasn't gotten it yet, but it doesn't really matter because he won't hear this till Thursday. So
That's right.
Yeah.
So he's a good third for this. We're chasing down a dream. We're going to see how low we get. You have a 6-stroke lead right now.
Yeah.
6-point lead.
Hey,
Maybe 7.
We're not gonna get complacent. We're just gonna keep pushing.
Keep going. Okay.
Super Bowl this week, right? What do you got? Yes, correct.
It was this week. I think one thing is going to come out in the next couple of days. I think that Joe Burrow probably has an ACL injury or an MCL injury from that tackle that he took, and it kind of threw him off a little bit in the last quarter, maybe a little. The game had some. Right at halftime, after halftime. We'll discuss that after.
All right, let's just. Who do you think should have won?
I think the Rams should have won.
Really?
Yep, I do.
Okay.
Because that was a blatant offensive pass interference on that touchdown coming out of the halftime for the Bengals, right?
All right. Yeah.
Now here's what I think. I think that game was shaping up to be amazing in the third quarter, and it just kind of puttered out. Wasn't great.
I thought it was a good game.
Good game for a while, but I thought it was going to be one of these performances that was going to be up and down, back and forth in the second half, and it was going to be whoever has the ball last. Right? And then I definitely thought the Bengals were going to kick a field goal to tie that and go to overtime. Mm-hmm. That was like a no-brainer. I was already counting the money in my bet that I made where I knew what the final score was going to be, and it was going to shape up perfectly for me. And then the pass rush got them. You said that. You said that the pass rush was going to be a problem.
All right, so that was the key to my key factor for the Bengals to win, right? And
Yep.
I think in the first half, for the most part, they held them at bay.
Yep.
And I think in the second half is where you really saw the Rams sort of figure it out and who they wanted to pick on. You can, and that's when those sacks started to come. And so when they move Aaron Donald over to the left side, they're going to slide that line over there, and then you're sitting there with 2-on-2 with Von Miller and the other defensive tackle. I'm not really sure who that is, but when you get 2-on-2 and you get Von, and that's when that pressure started coming in there. And that was an effect in the second half. And that's when those offenses started sputtering.
And you picked
no ground game whatsoever from either team.
No, and I thought it was bad play calling too. They were still trying to run the ball, and there was no way.
Here's the thing. So you bring up the pass interference, right?
Yeah.
In the playoffs.
That was such
in
pass
the
interference,
playoffs, historically.
The third quarter one I'm talking about, face mask.
I know which one you're talking about.
That was crazy.
And we'll get to that. I get it. But for historically speaking, when you get into the playoffs, and especially into the Super Bowl, the refs sort of let them play a little bit more, and they let them play. They let them
kill each other.
They didn't call shit.
Nothing.
All game, which I'm fine with.
Love it when it's like that.
No problems with that. Mm-hmm. But if you're not going to call the what was it, Higgins or Boyd? Who caught it? Boyd or Higgins on Ramsey with face mask, throwing him a little bit. I mean, he didn't throw him, but he definitely got his face mask. He, propelled him forward where he was able to come back and make the catch.
And he turned around Ramsey's head when he was actually in position to probably pick it.
That's a PI.
Yeah.
Offensive pass interference.
OPI.
And then
hashtag OPI. I've been seeing it everywhere.
The last series where the Rams are going in, they're like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9, goal to go to win the game. Mm-hmm. And it was Rieger or Wilson, whatever linebacker was covering, was probably Kupp.
That was poor call.
That was not pass interference. Mm-hmm. And if you're not going to call the first one, you can't call that one. And even in that spot where it's coming down to the last minute of the game, and this is probably going to determine the Super Bowl, it has to be absolutely fucking blatant.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the other two past that. I mean, there was an offensive holding call, I think, and then a PI as well.
That was a definite
they were calls.
Holding.
Like, I mean, they're 3rd and 1 now sitting in a situation. So, you're going to make that call, but that 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 9, whatever it was on Kupp, how we got the pass interference was the call that probably changed things.
I still think that there was obviously plenty of time on the clock with timeouts for Joe Burrow, and I don't think he was all there totally.
Possible, but the pass rush
was
getting to him. They don't have
first pass, right? Well, they were already in decent shape. You got a kicker that can hit it from 60.
Here's where they messed up. They get the first down. Second down. They just
bombed
one. They throw a fade to nobody in the corner. Obviously, a miscommunication. It happens. I get it, but you don't run that play, and Burrow shouldn't throw that ball regardless if it's called.
Yeah.
Get the first down, keep the chains moving, get them tired, because you have plenty of time to get in field goal range.
Tons of time. And
second and 1, you blow a play, you throw it down the field. Third down, you come back and you run it right up the middle. Great. That's fine. Do that on second down. But you also don't even have Mixon in the game at that point. Why don't you have your number 1 running back?
Didn't they run it right at Aaron Donald too?
Well, he's going to be in the middle anyway, so you go right up the middle.
So I mean,
he was in shotgun too.
Yeah, he stuffs him, and then right after that, then you got Burrow having to scramble.
It was bad play calling, bad decisions in some of those critical moments for the Bengals. They actually got a shitty pass interference on them, which shouldn't have been. And I think the Bengals win.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the Bengals win that game if those don't happen.
I was hoping for field goal to tie it, Bengals to score a touchdown for the 6.
Right.
Because you don't have to kick the extra point.
Yep.
Big cash money would have come my way. But, that was a dream. Dream that didn't come up. But
if you took some of the ginger locks, you made some money.
The ginger locks were hot in the first half. Holy shit, we were on fire.
Yep.
On fire.
If you listen. So we're going to have McKellar back on.
Boy, his analysis on the national anthem couldn't have been more spot on.
Spot on.
She wanted to cut it loose in the second half of that thing. He said that specifically about stretching out some of those last things.
She's a vocalist.
Yeah, and that pushed it, right? Yeah. The heads or tails. I mean, we'll just go with that. We both call heads anyway. What about the halftime show?
He got the anytime touchdown too, didn't he?
Anytime touchdown. He nailed that. He was all over the
OBJ.
Yeah,
good thing too. He got it early, and then OBJ was going off too.
Yeah. The one
didn't get the Burrow rushing touchdown.
Didn't get the Burrow, but again, it was just a little sprinkle because the odds were so good. In his words,
sprinkle that
$25. I'll take that.
Take it all day. What about the halftime show?
I thought it was good. I like
that's right in my element.
I thought it was good. Kanye West or not Kanye, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Yep. Awesome.
Great.
You know how they started it. Awesome. Eminem coming in there. It was awesome. I did not get the Kendrick Lamar thing at all.
Well, it's because Dre, I think, found him like he found Eminem, and he's produced by Dre. Sorry,
I just didn't understand. I don't know. I agree with that. I just didn't. I didn't understand it. I didn't.
Like an honorable.
I couldn't understand it.
No, but he's a Dre. Like he's produced by Dre, like Eminem was.
I'm not
and like
saying,
50 Cent.
I think if like. I don't know any of his songs off the top of my head, right? But if I heard a song by him, or you told me it was Kendrick Lamar, I'd be like, oh, I've heard that one. I like it. I didn't understand.
Got loyalties inside my DNA. I know that song.
I don't know that one either.
You know that one? No.
But he didn't sing like a song that anyone.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
Whatever he was saying, I didn't understand a word he was saying either. And then there was all these guys around him going in different directions. It was like I was going to have a stroke or something.
But I would tell you, I was 10 years old when The Chronic came out. So the initial one, right? And then, I mean, that was an amazing, amazing album. And then I was 99. I think Chronic 2000 came out. So I was what?
Holy shit, he's going back down.
16, 17. I mean, that was in my CD player, in my Jeep Wrangler that I had 2 subwoofers in with an amp.
No, you were so cool in Maine.
That was in my CD player for probably like 3 years. Ding, 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 ding,
I think I was past that. I think I was past that at that point.
You were? You were in college. How did you not listen to The Chronic?
In college, I was probably listening to country or Mellencamp or Bruce Springsteen.
You're old. You're not though. You're not that old.
I like the classic rock. I like the classic. Like I'm okay. You know, there's some like hip hop rap songs that I like Tupac. Some of the Tupac stuff I like.
Wow, you're like a West Coast rap guy.
I think no Biggie too. What Biggie's East Coast?
Yeah, I love
Biggie. I've got no preferences. If it's a good song or a good beat, I'm going to listen to it. I don't really know the albums.
We're going. Well, we haven't given this team much credit.
Mary J. Blige can sing, by the way.
Yeah, she can sing. Was she lip syncing?
Most of them are.
I don't think they were though.
You know what?
I heard the band.
I heard a couple little.
The first song that she did felt like she was lip syncing. The second one where she was just up by herself.
I heard her.
I don't think she was lip syncing that one. So maybe we can get someone behind the scenes to figure out if can they go back and forth?
Yeah. We'll ask somebody. Who are we going to ask?
Olivia King.
Well, that's Olivia King. She would know. We'll ask her. We'll hit her on Instagram.
I want to say the first one she did lip syncing. The second one she was on her own.
Okay.
Commercials? Best commercial?
I'm telling you, I didn't even really watch them. It was so weird. I just didn't. I was always eating during the commercials.
I was eating the whole game.
I did. What did I like? I mean, I liked the Cable Guy one. There was a lot of nostalgia behind all that stuff. You know, the Jim Carrey Cable Guy one.
Cable Guy one was good. I was happy to see the Clydesdale from Budweiser back in the mix.
Yep.
My favorite one though was the NFL one. With the miniature characters, like the
video game?
Yeah, like the animated video guys, but they came out of the TV and they were like,
that was a good one.
2 feet tall.
The Cable Guy one.
Yeah, it was funny.
Favorite.
What else you got up? The Superior, the Michelob Ultra Superior Bowl with Peyton Manning.
I don't know if I saw that one.
That
one was. I saw it. And I love Brooks
Koepka. Koepka was in 2 of them.
I did see the
first one with Manning when he's bowling and looking over.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah, I got that one. Yeah, I saw that
one. And then Serena Williams walks in and
the outfits they're wearing and stuff is funny. Koepka's making me laugh. He played well at the Waste Management. That was hilarious. Harry Higgs taking his shirt off. Joel Damon spinning his shirt. 2 hole-in-ones. The place was going absolutely nuts. The only place that's going to go more nuts than that is the Dunkin' Donuts Center tonight for Providence College and Villanova. An 8 versus 10 matchup tonight. We're not giving PC enough love on this podcast, Max. One of the best basketball teams in the country, and the fans are unbelievable there. Place goes nuts. Like lots of people are saying it's the toughest place that you can play right now.
I haven't been to a game this year.
We're going to go tonight.
I'm going tonight. I'm excited.
We're going to have a good
It's
time.
going to be way past my bedtime, though.
It's going to be late. We're going to need like a Red Bull and vodka or something. Like stay awake.
Go back old school.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Melanie Newman coming up, and let's go talk to her.
Got it.
All right, we're joined right now by Melanie Newman, and Melanie is the first female play-by-play broadcaster in Orioles history, the fourth current one in the MLB, correct? It's like I'm interrogating.
I think the math checks out.
Like I'm interrogating her right off the start.
Yeah, we
which
know,
is bad,
and wow, that's a lot of research for Dan to find that out too. Ooh. By the way, that's like his brain is steaming right now.
We were talking earlier, and you're narcissistic. I shouldn't say that anymore.
No, that's mean. That's mean.
Like she's the professional, and we try and do the best we can, even though sometimes we don't do a very good job with speaking or interviewing. And obviously, she does this for a living, so we need her help.
We absolutely do, because we did not go to school for this. We just got these cool mics that we sound decent on, and neither of us enunciate. We don't ask the right questions, so we're gonna take some tips from you, because you're a professional being on camera behind the mic, right?
I mean, allegedly. I don't know, how far you want to put me out there. You've got better mics. I've got my little AirPods in right now, so I think you've technologically already eclipsed me there.
That's all to Max. To Max's credit, he set
and
us
Max
up
set this first interview he set up, by the way.
Yeah, Max is the interview setter-upper now. You're doing what an actual producer does, Max.
Setter-upper?
Right?
That's going to be my new title, right?
Yeah, interview setter-upper. We like that. Yeah.
So how did you where did it start, right? Do you have a sports background? Do you play sports? And how did you get to here? Not the whole thing. We'll dive into it a little bit, but how did it start?
Yeah, I'm not athletic, first of all. So I can maybe do some of this media stuff that you guys are wanting help in, but I can't even think about doing anything you guys have done. That all went to my sister. I never played softball. Everybody thinks I played softball. I didn't pick up a bat until 3 years ago for the first time. But I grew up in Atlanta, and it was such a big SEC country. I mean, we were at Auburn every single weekend. Mom's from New England, so we were this really weird split house of a Patriots and Cowboys family. So it was football 24/7, and we never got into it as kids. I think we were a little young for that. We went to the Olympics a lot, but I started getting into baseball just naturally. I was around it all the time with the East Cobb complex, and they were all for that. They wanted to support the fact that I wanted to ask all the questions. I wanted to understand how the game worked. I got older, and I found out that the '94 strike was why my dad had kind of taken a step back from loving baseball as much. But he came around to it eventually. And I started out writing, got into college, kind of got away from everybody. You get that chance to reinvent yourself. And they really pushed me to try broadcasting. So I trusted them. I went with it. And I found myself in the lovely minor leagues for several years before I ended up with
welcome to my life.
Which is where he lived.
Yeah, no, and we'll cover that more. But I did hear you say something. You said the house was split between the Cowboys and the Patriots. Where did you fall?
I always kind of leaned more with the Patriots.
Okay.
Most of my mom's family, they're pretty loud and outspoken about it. And my dad was kind of quieter. The rest of his family, their allegiances in the NFL were all over the place because they were in the Army. So he didn't get as much support on that end of things. And actually, when it was the Pats-Falcons Super Bowl, he decided he was going to be for Atlanta. So my sister took his side, and it was a very different household between the first and second half.
So you got to experience what I got to experience with, we together got all these Super Bowls done, right? And then participants like Dan, helped us get those. So you're in the 6th Super Bowl club. That's good, right?
I think, yeah.
So with baseball, football, and you mentioned how you got there and you were down around East Cobb. You mentioned East Cobb also. That's a baseball factory, as baseball people will know. And then you move to the minor leagues, right? Same for me, right? I play college baseball. I get drafted. I go to the minor leagues. And you're thinking, hey, this is amazing. I'm wearing the star. I played for Astros. I'm wearing the star. This is awesome. And then I remember going to Tri-City, New York. And Tri-City wasn't terrible, but then I'd go to on a road trip on a bus, with a bunch of guys, who are all wild and crazy, as you probably know. And it's and we go to Oneonta, right? And Oneonta, I don't know if it had toilets in the clubhouse, right? It was like, you got to go outside to go to the bathroom. And it wasn't all it was cracked up to be right off the bat. Did you feel the same way? Were you like going to the minor leagues, not knowing what it really was yet, and then figuring it out as you went?
Oh yeah, no, I had no idea. And I think too, we were so hands-on at Troy with our broadcasting department, but it was still very common. Your next step after graduation was you went to a news station, and I thought, well, I want to be in live sports, and I didn't know that a station was still a viable path to get there. And so I was hard-headed and thought, this is the only way I can do it is to get on with the team. So I finally got my first job about a year and a half after I graduated. Had a lot of false starts along the way, and it was an independent team in Kilgore, Texas, that is now defunct due to tax evasion. It was unpaid. The walls were made out of old steel rigs.
Not really anything that out of the normal. It's like
no, exactly. But they were made out of old steel rigs, and so they had to train the players that you couldn't go for the deep fly balls because you would break your collarbone going up against this stuff. I quit halfway through the season. I couldn't do it anymore. Yep. And I called everybody I knew, and I had a buddy who I bartended with, and he was in Mobile, Alabama. And he said, you know what? We actually just got rid of this girl who's doing our on-field hosting. Why don't you come down here, finish the season here, and we'll get you going. And I credit him all the time. His name's Justin Baker, and he's not in broadcasting anymore, but he put me in the booth. He did way more than he ever had to do. I was supposed to just be this on-field host and rah, end of story. But he fought a lot of people to put me in that position that I had never really given a lot of thought to. And so, I spent 2 years with them. I wasn't allowed on the bus. I wasn't allowed in the clubhouse. I paid out of pocket to go on trips just so I could get more reps in. And I had to keep up my sales responsibilities on top of that. But it's so funny when you look back on everything because the Southern League was okay. The travel was okay. The hotels were okay. Overall, I had a lot of friends along the way there. And then you get to the Texas League and you're like, we have a 13-hour bus ride and we're not leaving the state. Like, what are we doing?
Let's talk about the Texas League. I love this because we both were in the Texas League.
Hold on. You can get that. She just said she paid for expenses to go on away trips. How is that? How
pay her own way? She said
she's also
cut
in
her
the
teeth.
I am not. I get the working part and I respect it. Respect the hell out of it. But paying out expenses, you're still in the minor leagues. I'm sure your pay isn't what it is now. Then you know what I mean.
Well, you know what's crazy is I actually went backwards throughout my entire minor league career because when I came in, I was making about $2,500 a month. I had commission off of sales. They took care of our apartment. So I was doing okay. I could budget off of that. I had a job the entire time I was in college. And then the Saving America's Pastime Act was passed, which was like the biggest slap to minor league baseball. And I watched my career over those next years, which my parents loved, as my salary got cut in half again and again and again, to where my last stop in the minors in the Carolina League in 2019, I made $900 a month before taxes. And that was it.
You probably got paid more than me.
No, so that was always our favorite thing with the players was who makes less.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right on the line. You're right on the line with some of those contracts.
Texas League.
What year did you start though? What year was your first year in when you went to the team, the independent team? What year was that? Do you know?
That was 2014. Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. We missed each other. Okay, we missed each other. I was going to say, I wonder if you were in the Texas League when I was in the Texas League.
I was in Frisco in 2018.
Okay, I was there in 2000.
Rachel Balkovec was actually the trainer with Corpus Christi, the Astros affiliate, in 2018 with me.
I wish I was that young. I'm not. I was there in 07, 08, 09. It was most of my time in the Texas League. But we talk about the Texas League, okay? I've got a couple Texas League stories. So did you travel in the Texas League with a team more, like with Frisco? So one of my favorite all-time cities, my favorite in minor league baseball is Lexington, Kentucky. Absolutely loved Lexington. I played there. I think it's an amazing place to play and be around. Number 2 is Frisco. I loved Frisco. Did you like Frisco?
How do you not love Frisco? It didn't. First of all, it was crazy to me because every other team I had been with, we had a front office of maybe 8. we had a front office of 65 in Frisco, and it was like weird. Yeah, I walked in. We had like our own media office where everybody had their own job. Like I was never asked to pull tarp, which was also weird because that was usually like first responsibility. But no, and then they had the lazy river at that point, and so I actually developed a digital segment weekly where we'd go float with one of the guys, and the whole point was for them to just float and talk about life. It wasn't baseball; it was whatever they wanted to go with. And they got to pick the guy who would do it the next week. But no, oh my gosh, we had a blast being there. And I loved living in Texas.
Yeah, as much as, we do like to like bust on minor league baseball and like some of the areas, there are some places like Frisco and Corpus is great too. Like that are amazing. I mean, Frisco's, you're staying in perfect, beautiful hotel. You're staying like all the mall, like the whole mall and restaurant area that's right around there with the bars. It's like so great when you're a visiting team to go there. Not to mention the stadium's beautiful. There's a lot of fans. You guys get fans now. By the way, those fans there, I would call those corporate fans. They sit on their hands. It's not that loud there, right? It's not that loud in that stadium, but it's still full somehow. But they're kind of, they're eating the hot dog, drinking the beer instead of like drinking the beer and rooting the team on. Like when you get to some places, like Springfield Cardinals. That place rocked, and that was in that Texas League also. I have some more Texas League stuff to cover though first.
I'm sure you do.
What do you remember about Midland? Did you ever go to Midland?
I went on that trip. I drove myself actually. Our hitting coach, I don't know if you guys, now I can't remember what year he was there, but it was Jason Hart. And it's funny because Midland played the same way when he went through as it did when we were there in 18. If you hit anything in the wind, it's like being in Dunedin, Florida. It's just, it's 5 miles out. It's you forget about it.
Welcome to my career. I also played in Lancaster. I played in Lancaster, which they called the Jetway. You could throw a ball up in the air and blow on it, and it would be gone. It would be a home run. It was like wild. So Midland, you're right. Yeah.
I have to tell you this, actually. It's a quick tangent, but we were live tweeting one of the spring training games, I think 2 years ago, and I had missed that a different pitcher had come in for the other team, trying to get all of our stats and stuff run. And this kid just came up, and now I've got to go look back. But I mean, when I tell you he walloped this ball, like it had no strings on it anymore. And so I tweeted him like, man, he just hit a rocket. Like this thing's out of the stratosphere. And it was one of my buddies who was the pitcher. And he's like, yo, like, thanks. I'm gonna lose my job for that one. So cool.
Appreciate it. Good.
But no, Midland had grown a little bit by the time I got there. It definitely it didn't feel as desolate. Granted, I drove through it almost every year back and forth to Arizona, but it was just kind of one of those. It was there. It wasn't bad, but it never really stood out.
Here's what I remember about Midland. I guarantee it was probably the same team hotels and everything when I played to when you went. The team hotel had a miniature golf course in the middle of it, but it was indoors, and it was like they got it from an old miniature golf place and like put it in the lobby. Yeah. It's hilarious, like unbelievable drinking games for that. Number two was the bullpens were out in the outfield, and they had the elevation over it, and that was where we played the quarter game. Did I tell you about that with McKellar? We used to put a cup on the plate, and then we used to have kids throw quarters to get a ball. We used to raise like $150 a night. And we used to go buy all the booze.
Genius.
Great move.
That just tells me baseball players got too much time on their hands.
That was so fun. If you pitched and you were a starter.
When you're hungry, you're going to collect those quarters.
Absolutely. That was booze for the night. That was like dinner and booze. Like that was how we did it. But then the third thing, and this is the thing that I don't know if you experienced or not. What about the tarantulas there? Did you ever see tarantulas there?
If I had known, I would have never gone.
Okay, so the way that the field is set up with like the water spouts, when it rains, the tarantulas just come pouring out of these water spouts. I'm terrified of spiders. Beyond terrified of spiders. They're running all over the field. Like they're all over the place. These monster tarantulas, like the size of my hand.
You're like an eight-legged freaks, basically.
It's terrifying. Terrifying. I'd like stand in the middle of the field and be like, I'm trapped. So, but we had another guy, Eli Orch, first-round draft pick, went to Tennessee, maybe second-round draft pick. I don't want to give him too much credit, and because I think he listens. We put a tarantula in a glass container, and we put it in his locker, and he had a panic attack and had to go to the hospital. all time. So these are the things of the Texas League that come up, Dan. And you didn't get to experience this because you were on these planes, going to these beautiful cities. But Melly and I have slugged it out in the minor leagues.
In my defense, there was no minor league for me to go to.
I agree. I know.
Yeah, you either make it or you don't.
Right.
There.
Yeah. There's no halfway point.
Yeah, you don't get to slam it around in the minor leagues and do the tarantula game and stay in the hotels that we're talking about. It's okay. What happened after that? Any other good spots in the Texas League?
Oh, gosh. We had a lot of fun in San Antonio, honestly. It was their last year being in AA before they moved to AAA.
Yep.
And we took our digital content manager with us. So we made a side stop in Austin, Texas, and got to explore UT. And just a couple other things along the way. But it was just really cool getting to have a whole team specifically designed to bring that content. And that's what you say, like the corporate fans, it's because they just do such a good job at all those little extra entertainment pieces that tie into it. Because I mean, really, we're 20 minutes from the parent club with the Rangers,
right.
and so you could kind of run into that sometimes of like, why would we go see the kids when the big boys are right down the road? Yep. And so I'll never forget, they had Dude Perfect there the year that I was there. Fans lined up; it was sold out a month in advance, and they were at our gates at like 7 a.m. And I never knew that you could have that in a minor league atmosphere. But they killed it, and they still do. They just keep bringing in better people. Our old graphics guy is actually with the Astros now, so he gets to entertain all of them at a big level, which is so deserved.
Is that kind of true for the minor leagues? Is that kind of true for the minor leagues? Like the games are more fun, more personable, maybe?
It's overall an entertainment experience.
My parents live down in Raleigh now, and we've gone to a few of the Durham Bulls.
Yeah, those are good. Those are good places.
But I mean, like that was like,
and that's an institution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Durham is an institution. I mean, they're going to draw.
They get the bowl. The bowl. You hit the bowl. You get a free steak. Now it's like a free burrito or something. I mean, I would, and you answer this after me. I think minor leagues are an experience where it's funny when they do the sumo wrestling thing. And like people pay to go see that overall thing where people do pay the ticket to go to the major league game and watch the game a lot, right? Big fan base. It's funny when you do the sausage race around the thing, around the field, and like somebody falls or whatever. Like that stuff you need in minor leagues because you get the family there and the beers are half the price and the hot dogs $2, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's just so intimate, and that's what I tell people all the time is you're never going to have that experience anywhere else, and it's something to this day that is still so fond in my heart. And everybody's, oh, you've made it to the big leagues, but the minor leagues still have that hold just because of all that one-on-one time that you had to really pick people's brains, and you got such this deep insight into way like Pudge Rodriguez and Randy Johnson thought because they were there to watch these kids, and if they had them in, they would just sit down and they would just talk. Because they knew that this wasn't some national outlet. I was just wanting to really kind of get in their brain and see what brings them back year after year. But it is different because like I remember being in Mobile and I had days where like our bullpen would die laughing because we'd roll up more T-shirts to throw into the stands than there were people in the stands. And so they're heckling us for the T-shirts. And, it was a very quiet, it was hard to draw people, which is why they're not there anymore. But yeah, it's just, and I've said this too, is everything that makes minor league baseball so great when people keep saying, how do we grow the game? How do we make people come out to major league games? Literally follow the minor leagues because they have it already. And they have, a fraction of the budget that the big league clubs have. And somehow that still gets missed.
Yeah, and a fraction of the people, too, in like the area, in like the cluster area, right? Like you see, and you've probably seen this, just being in the industry, like the Savannah Bananas, like which is this like
greatest name in the world.
I want
the greatest name in the world.
So
unbelievable name. I'm buying a jersey for sure. And like you can't get into their games. It's sold out every game because I say the word gimmicks, but it's like the entertainment that they do where the walk-up songs they have, they do all this crazy stuff where like they'll wear like a samurai sword. They'll bring a band on the field.
It's like an event into itself or event other than the game going on, and people want to see that.
They did a thing like real game, right? The pitcher came out, wore just a jockstrap, like to like throw like pitch an inning. just crazy stuff that they're doing. I don't know how they're getting around it, but like we got to bring.
Well, it's a collegiate league, so
Right.
they don't really have.
That's right. Yeah, they don't have.
rules.
She knows more than you do.
No, that's true.
She knows more than you.
She definitely does. But that's like
have a
they have all
problem.
this kind of cool stuff that they're doing, and it's just catching on, and it's popular. So
But you started out with the hosting, right? And you didn't play sports. Is it just talking to those guys how you got to know the game and get up in the booth doing the play-by-play? Because you've got to you've got to have knowledge of the game and what's going on, the terms. I'm still learning all the terms.
Yeah.
And
did you know what you meant by pull the tarp?
yes, I did.
Okay, all right. So
I think
anytime somebody, we just had an interview the
I
other
think
day.
I can figure that one out.
Where somebody said dry humped in the bullpen. That's a thing that people don't understand. So I'm trying to educate him in all these terms, right?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot going on, and I still remember when my football sideline work started expanding. If it makes you feel any better, I literally went out. There were a couple different books I had mentors that had recommended to me. It was like Take Your Eye Off the Ball 2.0. I
Is that
bought
Pat
Football
Kerwin?
for Dummies.
Is that Pat Kerwin?
Yes.
Yeah, Pat wrote that book.
How do you know?
Pat's he does the afternoon on Sirius XM NFL with Jim Miller. It's a great guy.
Yeah, I had that one. I bought Football for Dummies. I read it cover to cover just to make sure. Like, I knew I grew up with the game, but it's different when you're presenting it. You can't afford to miss anything with it. But with baseball, I went to East Cobb all the time. I watched a very awkward young Jason Hayward, like trying to figure out his stuff. You saw all of this talent going through, and living so close to it, they had overflow games at my alma mater, Etowah High School stadium. And so I started helping out there. I was one of 4 girls who traveled with our varsity team. We kept the book. That's where I learned how to do that. We did all the video scouting for our pitchers and our hitters. If the field flooded, we were out there with the 5-gallon buckets, like trying to dip the water off the field. And so I kind of just wanted to be around it. I didn't really have an idea at that point. I was very much a recluse. I had maybe 3 friends, and I was good with that. And I wrote about it. I was a yearbook editor. And then again, I went to college, and they really pushed me to change over to a broadcast major because they're 2 separate schools for us. And so I started working with our sports information department. My first play-by-play was actually our Division I volleyball program. And then that grew into getting involved with the Atlantic Sun Conference, the Sun Belt Conference. The Big South were probably my biggest 3 that I worked with. But again, the little schools that people overlook, it was Chris Sale, Jacob deGrom, Corey Kluber, Richard Blyer. It was all these guys that people now have as like a commonplace name.
Jacob deGrom is my he's so fun to watch. I love deGrom, my favorite. So you get the call. We like to talk whenever we bring the baseball guys on or whoever it is, or we talk about the football, like the draft, getting to the big leagues, whatever it is. Like, we like to tell that story. So how does it work for you? Like, because you just explained your minor league run, your college thing, like the whole thing. How do you get the call to the big leagues in like your world?
Yeah, I had become very comfortable where I was. Salem was very open with me. We had a great general manager in Alan Lawrence, and he had told me, look, you have a job here as long as you want it. We love having you here. It was nice to have this broadcasting booth that was bigger than any bedroom I'd ever had. And it was just panorama of the Blue Ridge Mountains. The organization was great. And I had a good mix of ESPN work that was really doable for me. And so I thought, I get it. I get how people are lifers in the minor leagues now, and I could do this. I'd had probably a dozen major league interviews throughout my lifetime. And, some of them didn't work out because I needed more time. Some of them they wanted a blonde, or they just wanted a look that I didn't have.
Were they interviews for play-by-play or for like the host gigs?
Hosting and sidelines.
Okay.
Yeah, I had not had a play-by-play interview ever in the big leagues. But I just wanted to tell the stories, and I think you get that riding the buses and eating the crappy food and being there is just, there's such a huge human element that I think we got away from in the 90s, where we put all these athletes on pedestals and how untouchable they were. And then you started seeing that divide come back. Like, fans don't relate to all those untouchable things. They relate to those smaller minutia that you only get when you have the people who embed themselves with these teams who can tell those stories. So yeah, I had a couple different in the mix that I thought maybe could work out. Okay, another big league opportunity, great. I'd gotten to the point where you kind of start to temper your hopes. And when I talked to Baltimore, I had no idea. I thought this was just kind of a let's get to know each other. You're geographically close if we ever, for some reason, need a once-off fill-in for the role. But you're always going to take those meetings. Mm-hmm. And so they flew me up in February, had lunch. And again, just a meeting of the minds. What do you notice? What makes you tick? What do you think fans want to see right now with the philosophy of how we connect them to the game? And I flew back home and, called a guy who is now my agent. But I said, it went well and I don't expect anything else. And all of a sudden they emailed us back and it was, all right, minimum of 140 games, a 2-year deal. And I kind of fell out of my seat just because it's always when you don't see it coming that the big stuff happens. And so I still didn't tell anybody. We still had a couple other teams who were kind of waiting to see if they wanted to do anything. And I finally waited until I had the contract in ink and signed. And my family, we play bananagrams. That's our, gather around the table.
From Rhode Island. It's from Rhode Island.
It is.
That makes sense now. But my sister and her family, they were still down in Georgia at the time. And so we were all playing and my boyfriend knew, what I was going to do and how I was going to tell them. And so we always finish around and we read off our biggest words, whether we've won or lost. And I said, I signed a big league contract and it just wasn't enough points or whatever. And my sister and my brother-in-law I had my phone set up and no one knew. And she just kind of looked and they were both staring at me. And my dad's like trying to fact check my board. Like, I don't think you put all those words together. Yeah. It's gone over nothing. It took probably 3 minutes of me being like, guys, like I did this.
The gender reveal didn't hit right the same way. It's like
big whiff.
Gotcha. Hey, you mentioned Salem. Before we keep going, I have a question for you on this. So, they still play at the same stadium? Because I did play half a season in Salem. I got moved up from Lexington to High A Salem, which was the Astros then. Same big stadium, that's like I can't remember the name of it. Wide open.
Salem, it's Salem Memorial.
Yes. Is that where you were at?
So they're the same one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Super important. Have to know this answer. Okay. Actually, a lot of people are gonna. I'm calling people as soon as I find out this answer after we're done. Who was the clubby for Salem when you were there? Did you get to know the clubbies at all?
I knew our clubby. I don't think he was ever in a good mood, and now I can't remember his name.
Don't tell me it was Tom.
He's been there forever.
Is it Tom Wagner?
Yes, it's Tom.
He's alive? He's alive? Tom Wagner's alive.
Yeah, he's alive.
Unbelievable. He is the all-time clubby because he's in a pissy mood all the time.
All the time.
All he does is shit on people about the tips that they give every month. Like, he's like, your first rounder, you gave me $150. Like, he'll say it right to your face. He has no clue. This is what we talked about McKellar with. They're like, unbelievable. But the best thing that he did, I don't know if he still does this, you can pull into the stadium there. So you can pull underneath. And when you would go on the road, he'd have everybody pull in, and then he'd detail everybody's car. Like, that was an unbelievable thing. And
I don't think we had that.
Didn't do that. And then he would go do your laundry, like whatever it was that he could do.
Well, then he should bitch. That's worth more than $150 a month.
I mean, you also paid him, and then you tip him. That was the tip that he was complaining about. He made the best Gatorade also. So I need to find this guy's number, seriously, because we all had it at one point, and then we all thought he was probably not alive. Like, that was the consensus around the group. So, Tom Wagner. This is the second time we've mentioned Tom Wagner on this podcast.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped.
I honestly don't know if I can top that. I mean,
do you remember any of your like clubbies and stuff, like by name, or like visiting team, home team? Do you remember that? Is that
Murph was
so
ours?
You do remember.
Murph, it was George first, and then we had Murph.
Yeah. Okay.
Great
so
guys.
You remember the names.
Great guys.
What about all the assistants and everything? You remember all them?
No, it was just one guy basically.
Okay, all right. I'm so glad that Tom Wagner is alive and well down and still miserable.
Apparently,
yeah,
he hasn't changed.
Okay, good. All right, so then you get up to the show. Like, so are you nervous when you sign this deal? Like,
but your first game was during COVID.
Yep.
First one during COVID.
Yeah, so you didn't have to be nervous. Like,
but you, I want to ask it this way. But we'll go to do you get the nerves before a broadcast?
I don't know that I'd call it nerves. It's more of like just an adrenaline rush usually. And it's weird too. I think some of that was just mental training that I had competing in pageants. Like we replaced certain words. So we got rid of nervous, 15 years ago.
Is anxious a better word? Or is that the same thing?
Yeah,
Anxious is my new word.
I would use anxious.
Yeah.
I would use anxious for the one and only spring training game that I got to do in 2020 because then everything shut down.
Yep.
And then after that, really, I don't think I ever felt it again. But it was that first spring game. I was still working for the stats department out of New York because, again, I didn't see this job coming, and stats is what usually paid for me to be at spring training. So I was pulling double duty a lot. I was driving down from Tampa to Sarasota for a morning camp and then whatever game I got assigned to that day. And that's the one kind of downside about Florida spring training is Arizona, everything is right there.
Yep.
And Florida, you can drive a couple hours and get a rain out. But yes, I had no voice. My allergies had fully flared up. So I was cracking and coughing anytime like I tried to raise up too much. And I thought I'd get a chance to step away and kind of study a little bit, but it was the same day that we had the 30 for 30 there with MLB Network. And then they had a press junket for me to talk about this. And I never got that chance. And my saving grace is that my main partner, Jeff Arnold, he and I were in the Carolina League together in 19. He was in Frederick. So he knew me. He had a full-time assistant. So when we played each other, which was all the time, he'd actually leave his assistant for a couple innings and hang out with me since I was alone in the booth, almost every game. So we already had that rapport. And I just told him, I said, look, man, like I'm trying, we got thrown in, we had a guest come in my very first inning. So like right off the bat, he handed it over to me for the first time. I had to introduce the guest. It was a 1-2-3. I had to go to break. But we got through it. And then the second game we were set to do, the buses left and then they came back and that was kind of the end of it. So yeah, the first regular season game was an empty stadium, which was just weird. And in a way it was okay because you didn't get the nerves. You kind of feel like you're just having a lock-in with your buddies because you're calling a game off of a monitor that's 30 minutes away from you. And I guess that kind of set it up for last year too. It was the same thing again, just you didn't really have that chance to have nerves. And now I get it when the players would always say like, oh, it feels the same. Like, the fields are always the same. So yeah, you climb up and you notice the competition changes and the workload changes, but the game is the game at the end of the day. And I get that now.
Got it.
So you feed off the crowd as much as they do.
Oh my God. Yeah. 110%. There, we had the piped in crowd noise, even in our headphones. It just doesn't compare,
right.
Even when it was a limited capacity crowd. Like they're so important to that game. They really are.
Yeah. So you dealt with that, and then the season being shut down. Now we're dealing with the lockout. So, or what are we calling it? Are we calling it the strike?
We're calling it the
lockout.
Melanie Jinx right now.
Yeah. Are we calling it a strike? Are we calling it, like,
COVID.
what are we calling it? No, not the Melanie Jinx. We're calling it, what is the actual name of it?
They're locked out.
A strike?
They're locked
They're
out.
not wrong. It's
They're
a
locked
lockout,
out.
yeah.
Or
They're locked out.
do you call that a strike, though? Is that
No.
a strike?
No,
It's
they're
not.
locked out.
It's just locked out. Okay. What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, I'm the last to know anything. I
have no clue how this works.
I really, literally, when the 2020 season got shut down, I got lucky because one of my best friends, her husband works for the Rays. So every spring, he moves into their complex. I move into their house, and I help her with the house. So I had a place to stay, but it was, everybody else had left. It's 5 days. There's no baseball. And I had to call and go, hey, I'm still in Florida. Can I go home? And they're like, oh, you're still there. So I was literally Kevin from Home Alone, like,
Right.
forgot about me.
Yeah.
But no, so I've kind of read, between the tea leaves on this. It's hard for me to imagine. First of all, I think it's impossible to lose the season. Do you have a little bit of a delay? Maybe. Is it anything astronomical? They can't afford it.
That's what I think.
2020, yeah. 2020 was really tough. You're already seeing fans that are struggling to stay in it just because of the whole relationship going on right now. And that's been put on full display. And I think both sides are very aware that if they sit here and play chicken and push and push and push on those dates, the colossal damage that you create because of that is something really hard to come back from, despite the fact that this is one of the oldest sports here. Yep. You have to be conscious of the fans. And again, I refer to my dad. Like it took him literally from the 94 strike until the Astros run in 17 for him to actually buy back into the game. And then, of course, we all know the aftermath of that. And that was another uphill battle for me to get back in it. But yeah.
So, with the lockout, right, you've got players not going to camp. We have you not going to where you're supposed to be. I'm sure you're supposed to be going somewhere right now, or be somewhere. Is that accurate?
Well, and that's the other tough thing is getting hired during COVID. Nothing's been normal. I think we would all
you've had a weird experience through.
I have no idea. I've never traveled. I've never been on the charter plane. My last travel memory is still a broken down bus. But
mine too.
Yeah, normally what I've seen is that they would send the whole broadcast crew down for the full spring training. And again, because of COVID last year, when we finally did run things back again, they staggered us. So a few of us went per a couple weeks at a time. I had the final tail end of spring training. So I literally went from our home in Atlanta to spring. And then I had to fly up to Baltimore, get moved in and start the season. So I guess right now we would all be getting ready to go to Florida.
Well, I'm always fascinated by your schedule. Baseball player schedule, I just think is absolutely nuts. And, you're calling the play-by-play, you're an extension of that. How do you do that workload? The preparation and the charts and the notes that you have to prepare and knowing the scouting report on the opposing team. And I know you haven't had a regular year, but you probably had a plan going into it on how you were going to handle it. How do you do that?
I'm still learning every day. And honestly, the minor leagues set me up so well for that because I didn't have anybody. I had to do everything. And I think that's why I had such a good relationship with the players because they'd all be playing Call of Duty in one dude's room and one of them would jump out to get ice at 1:30 and I'm in the hallway because it's the only place I can get Wi-Fi to finish typing up the game recap, put online before I do the game notes, the stat packets, everything the coaches want, everything the media wants. And they were never afraid to ask questions and ask what and why I was doing the things that I was doing. And so then you get to the big league level and you realize you have a whole team. You have people that automatically compile the stats for you. If you're trying to find something, you just send off an email or a text and, they're running it back for you. So in that regard, it does make things easier. And again, it goes back to those relationships too. If you're trying to just figure something out or, hey man, you told me this story that I want to use in the game, but there's this one part, I can't remember. And they're very forthcoming with all of that. And so it's just having done the trial and error and control what you control. Right, everybody else is freaking out. And then I'm like, dude, I've done this. I've been on the 3 a.m. breakdown and, I've shown up at the stadium where we had a themed bus ride of the Sandlot and we couldn't get our suitcases because the bus driver didn't get there in time. So I now have to go to a stadium dressed as Wendy Peppercorn to call a game, which is not ideal.
Amazing.
But you can't control it.
That's a great gimmicky game. That's hilarious, by the way. You did a Wendy Peppercorn thing. That's funny. Because we were the visiting team, so they just thought they had this weird broadcaster on Kentucky Derby night, by the way. Oh, so those are always huge nights. Yeah.
Everybody is dressed in tuxes, and then here comes the visiting broadcaster in a swimsuit. Hey, guys.
Nice. I like that one. Have you, because it's been so scattered for you, in these couple of years with COVID and everything, have you been able to build the same rapport with some of the players, or is it tough for you to do it? Because you don't really see them,
Yeah. It's so tough. I've developed a few relationships, especially with, wives, agents, moms, and dads. Most of that is through social media. Very rarely I've been able to actually run into somebody in person and just say hello. And, they usually end up introducing themselves, but it's weird because I'm 2 years in and I really haven't met our guys. I knew a few of them when I first joined because we were in the minor leagues together. And of course, all the ones that I knew were either DFA'd, traded, released. I was like, oh, there goes that.
And they knew you as Wendy Peppercorn.
I will say.
They thought you were Wendy Peppercorn. Yeah.
Exactly. I will say I'm fortunate too, though, just because not even having built those relationships yet, everything that our family's gone through, I was very overwhelmed and touched. Guys like Cedric Mullins and his wife, John Means, his wife, Caroline, their family. Just they're reaching out and, flowers and stuff like that I just didn't expect at all. Because again, I haven't gotten to know them and it kills me because that's my bread and butter. That's what I live to do is to wind those stories into the broadcasts. And just to know that, we see each other, even though it's not in person, that they recognize that we're both on the same team together. And again, the human element of it, I've been really fortunate in that regard. But it also comes back to, the minor league stuff. I haven't met our manager since the first game I called in spring in 2020.
Yeah.
But he was good buddies with our Frisco skipper, who had like YouTube famous meltdowns on the field. And so the minute that I brought him up, Joe Mikulik says hi, and Brandon Hyde just freaks out. Oh my God, how is he? And
I was pitching the game with I pitched the game that Joe Mikulik took the base out. Kobe Clemens hit a double, went nuts, threw the base, threw everything all over the field. Like, he's had some serious meltdowns. He threw the rosin bag like it was a grenade into the stands. Unbelievable. He's got some good ones.
We tried to get him to have a meltdown in 2018, and he wouldn't do it. He does the gladiator games with his wife now. But we'd see moments where he'd get heated, and it'd be like John Felchak or one of the other home plate umpires. He'd turn around, he'd point at him, and he'd be screaming in the dugout, and you would just see he was like, and then he'd just kind of walk away, but you would just see it all scrunch up inside. You're like, I just want it. Like, you're right there. I've watched YouTube.
He melts. Max, I'll send you a clip from one that he melted in Lexington. It was great. It was an all-timer. Took his shirt off, ran. He was all over the place. So, we got a lot of same names. It's fun. So hopefully the season starts. You're going to meet these people. If you could meet one player, living, playing, not playing, alive, dead, who is it?
I have two.
You can name
I feel
two.
like one of them is, it's two-way. So it's Bo Jackson and David Ortiz. Okay. Hands down. Those are, again, we grew up as Boston fans, and I'll never forget my uncle, who was part of Ted Williams' security detail. Growing up, all the boy cousins got to go to Fenway, and I was from Atlanta. So the few times I got to go up there, I wanted to go, and I never got to go. And I finally went on my own at 24, and he crushed one over the monster. And it just sits there forever, especially after the Boston bombings and everything else. And for Bo Jackson, he was a legend. We grew up as Auburn fans, and seeing all these clips, and those were my parents' dates were to watch him play. And Gary Thorne calling the call of him running up the wall with Kansas City. He's supernatural. He doesn't seem like a real athlete. And I've met a share of athletes in my time. And everybody, didn't you freak out, or this celebrity, and isn't that so cool? And I thought, they just want to be treated like people at the end of the day. But I don't know if I could fully just be chill, casually bumping into one of the two of them.
Yeah,
Bo Jackson.
There's always that one person that you're going to meet that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You just met LT. That was a big one for you.
LT, yeah.
First time.
That was a big name. The one that I met a couple times, and it's still just in awe that I met, was Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan's your big
Jordan
one.
was
That's right.
the guy.
I did meet Bo Jackson, by the way, at a food convention one time. I was there on a hospitality thing. He was selling steaks. Like, he was like a celebrity that was in the steak or sausage thing. And I remember I went up to him, and this was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I go up to Bo Jackson. I was like, "Hey, you're the best athlete of all time." That's like what I said to him. His answer back to me was just, "Yep." That's what he said. And I was like,
the truth.
The man shoots bow and arrows with his feet. Like, just
he makes his own arrows,
show me
right?
anybody else.
That's how he answered that question. I thought it was a great answer. I was like, that's
phenomenal.
A perfect answer. So, anyway, we got to follow along. Do you have anything else?
No, I can't wait to hear a call this year.
We're ready for it, and we want to see you on the field. We want to watch all this. You were
Hopefully
part of
back to normal.
You were part of the all-female broadcast, the historic one, right? That was a big deal.
That was with Mendoza, right?
Yeah. Is that accurate?
Well,
Right?
Well, it depends, because they had the 2019 broadcast was the first professional baseball broadcast that was all female, and then they had the first major league all female broadcast last year, and that was myself, Heidi Watney, Lauren Gardner, Alana Rizzo, and Sarah Langs for MLB Network. And then ESPN's first all-female major league broadcast was me and Jessica Mendoza.
Yeah, that's awesome. So congrats to that.
you.
That's really cool. Like, that's something
really
that's, brand new. I mean, obviously last year was the first year for a lot of things. So we're looking forward to watching you. So we'll find you, and then we'll have some fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. That was fun.
Yeah,
I
this was
I
a
always
blast.
appreciate talking about the minor leagues. So thank you for that. Dan likes to
I
kill
could
me
talk
on
to
that.
No. I like to hear the stories. That's where, I mean, that's like you said, that's where you cut your teeth.
Yeah, playing cards on the bus, breaking down, like, a hotel that absolutely
There was
is
always
trash.
the one kid that broke the bus toilet. That was like the pariah for the rest of the trip.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're that person, you are on everybody's shit list. Like, literally. Like, you can't be the guy that takes a dump on the bus. You can't be that guy. Thanks, Melanie. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
you
see
too.
ya. All right, bye.
Past Our Prime is brought to you by Squad Locker. Squad Locker is your one-stop shop for custom team apparel, delivered right to your front door. Learn more by visiting squadlocker.com.